Excel just turned 40, and to celebrate, I'm sharing the 4 game-changing skills and hidden tips from each decade that still pay off today. Master these and everything else gets easier. 1993 was the year pivot tables were born, and I've got a tip for you I'll bet you haven't seen before. By the way, if you're not already using pivot tables, check out this video to get started. Here I have some sales data with various attributes we can aggregate it by. It's perfect for a pivot table. So on the Insert tab, we'll insert a pivot table. I've got a sheet ready to insert it on, which is 1990s when pivot tables came out, and we'll pop it in cell B8. Let's left click and drag the field list over closer. Now I want to see the sales by product. I also want to see the percentage of sales by product, so I'm going to left click and drag the sales field into the values area again, and this time right click, show values as percentage of grand total. Let's give this a new heading, percent of total, and just like that I've got my sales summarized by product, and I can see the percentage each product is of the total. Now let's say I want to filter the data by country, segment, discount band and manager. The modern way is to insert slices for these fields, so let's grab those, click OK, and there's my slices. But you can see they take up a lot of room. So I'm going to press delete and get rid of them, and instead we'll add these fields as filters. So on manager, segment, country, and discount band. And you can see the default layout here is to have all the filters stacked on top of one another. But if I right click the pivot table and go into the pivot table options, on the layout and format tab, I can choose to display fields in report filter area, down then over as the default, but instead we could do over then down, or we can just change the number of fields per column to 2. Click OK, and now I have my filters across multiple columns, taking up less vertical space, and this is great if your pivot tables are also quite wide. Can you believe that pivot tables arrived in the 90s and they still do the heavy lifting today? 2007 saw the introduction of Excel tables. This was an upgrade to the old lists feature. Fun fact, the keyboard shortcut to insert a table is Ctrl-T, but you can also use the old list shortcut Ctrl-L. Another way to insert a table and apply a specific style in one go is via the Home tab and then Format as Table. Here we have the gallery with all the built-in styles. You can also create your own custom style. I'm going to go with this green style in keeping with my theme. It's detected that my data has headers. I'll click OK and I'm ready to go. Tables come with loads of handy built-in features like filter buttons, and we can turn on automatic totals. Let me scroll to the bottom and then check the box for total row. Here we can choose from different types of aggregation. The default is sum. You can see we've got average, count numbers, and so on. But having the total at the bottom is a bit of a pain. Instead, I'll turn it off and we'll go back to the top and I'll insert a formula up here. I'll use that aggregate function, which will allow me to ignore rows that are filtered out. So I want to sum, we can see that's number 9. Then I want to ignore hidden rows and nested subtotal and aggregate functions, that's 1. And then all I need to do is tell it which range of cells I want to sum. Let's just left click and drag that out of the way so I can select the sales column. Notice in the formula, instead of the difficult to read cell references, we get the table structured reference, which is made up of the table name and the column label, and that's way easier to make sense of. Close parentheses, press enter, and there's my total. Let's add a label here, and that job's done. And if I filter the data, let's remove everything but 2025, you can see my aggregate formula automatically adjusts. Now another way we can filter tables is with slices. So with the table selected on the Table Design tab, we can insert slices. Let's say I want a slicer for the category. Click OK. Let's color code it in keeping with my theme, and I'm going to give it 4 columns, and that will just allow me to make it a bit wider and pop it up here above my table. Let's give it a bit more space, and we'll make it the same width as the table. So now I can left click on any of the categories and automatically filter my table. Let's remove the filter from the year field, and now we get all the data for components, clothing, bikes, and accessories, and I can left click and drag to select multiple. All the while, my aggregate formula is updating. And these features make them super quick and easy to work with. But the most useful feature by far is how they automatically expand to include the new data. For example, let's filter the table for bikes so we can see the bottom of the table. And then on the very next row below the bottom of the table, I can add in new data for bikes. Let's add in data for 2026. We'll make it for bikes and cargo bikes. We'll make it 5,000. And you can see the table range has expanded to include that new row. My aggregate formula has expanded to automatically include it because it's picking up all the data in the sales column, all without me having to lift a finger. So you can see formatting your data as a table isn't just about fancy formatting, it's data integrity, automatic updates, and instant filters. Power Query was first released as an add-in in Excel 2010, enabling us to automate the boring and laborious tasks of gathering and cleaning messy data, and that meant we could update our reports with one click. It's quite common to receive your data in a monthly CSV, text, or Excel file. As you can see, I have here. Let's open one. And you can see each file contains the revenue data by region for the month. Now these are small sample sets, but your files are likely to be many columns and thousands of rows. With Power Query, I can simply point it to this folder and have it gather all the data into one table, and then next month I can add the new CSV file to this same folder and automatically include it. So let me show you how. Back in Excel, on the Data tab of the ribbon, in the Get and Transform Data group, you'll find the Power Query tools. Now under the Get Data drop-down, we have all the data sources we can use Power Query to get data from, including databases, online sources, Fabric, and so on. I want to get data from a file and then from folder. Simply navigate to the folder, click Open, and here we can see a list of the files in that folder and various metadata relating to that file. At the bottom, I can combine, load, or transform the data. And under the Combine drop-down, we can combine and transform the data, go straight to Combine and Load, or Combine and Load to, which will allow you to select where you want to load it to. Let's go into Combine and Transform Data. This is going to open the Power Query editor window, and we'll just have a quick look at what options are available. The first thing it asks is whether it's detected the region correctly, and we get a preview of the data here. It looks fine, so I'm going to click OK. Here in the Power Query Editor window on the left, we have the queries that were automatically created to combine the files. In the center, we have a preview of the data, and you can see here we've got the data from each month's CSV file. In the ribbon, we've got various tools to clean and transform the data, like removing rows, splitting columns, and grouping the data. And on the Transform tab, there's even more common data cleaning tools like unpivoting columns, filling up or down, replacing values, and so on. Now this data is pretty tidy, however I have got the file name included in the table, which I don't need. So with that column selected, I'm just going to press the delete key to remove it. Now over on the right we can see the applied steps pane, and this lists all the steps that have been taken so far. They've been recorded much like a macro, and this means we can use this query again next month when we get the new CSV file. So once you've finished cleaning the data, go to the Home tab, Close and Load, and you want Close and Load to. This is going to allow you to choose where to import the data. The default is a table in the current workbook, but you can go straight to a pivot table report, pivot chart, or create a connection and load it to the data model, aka Power Pivot. I'm going to load it direct to a pivot table report. That's going to help keep my file size small because I won't have the data in a table in the worksheet and a pivot table. I'll click OK, and we get the field list with the 3 fields. So I can summarize my data by date, region, and let's look at the revenue. You can see it's automatically grouped the data by months. So when next month comes around, all I need to do is place the new file in the same folder. There's July's data. Go back to Excel, right click on the pivot table and refresh. And just like that, we now have July's data. And of course, if you have multiple reports connected to the query, you can update them all in one go via the Data tab and then refresh all. With Power Query, you have scalable, automatic data cleaning and gathering every time, so you can spend more time on the fun stuff. And our most recent feature, Dynamic Arrays, is no less impressive. Dynamic arrays changed the way formulas return results, going from a single cell to being able to return multiple results that automatically spill and resize as your data changes. No helper columns, and no messing around with Control, Shift, and Enter. For example, we can easily build a summary of this table by year and category. I'll start with the unique function, and I want to get a list of the years, close parentheses. However, it'd be good if they were sorted, so let's edit that and we'll wrap that in the sort function, press enter, and now the years are sorted correctly. By the way, I've got some conditional formatting on these cells to reveal the borders when I entered that first formula. It's not part of the formula functionality. Next, we want to list the categories across the columns. So I'm going to start with the transpose function, and I want them sorted, and I just need to grab a unique list of the categories from the category column. Close unique, close sort, close transpose, and that's done. And now I can simply use SUMIFs to aggregate the sales. The first criteria range is my year, and the criteria is the spilled array in this cell here. Now, in order to reference the spilled array, I can simply reference that first cell and then place a hash on the end. Notice it's now picking up all the cells in that spilled array. And by doing this, when I add new data to this table, that spilled array is going to grow by 1 year, and my SUMIFs formula will automatically include it. Next is the criteria range for the categories. And where are those listed? In the spilled array here, so it's the first cell followed by the hash. Close parentheses on SUMIFs, press enter, and just like that we've got a dynamic summary of our data that will automatically update and expand as new data is added to this table. Now, another way we can build this summary is with the new pivot by function, which effectively builds a pivot table with a single formula. The first argument are the row fields, so we want the years in the rows. Then the columns, we want the categories. The values we want to aggregate are the sales. And the function, well, we can choose from these functions or we can write our own lambda. I just want to sum them, so we're going to use sum. And then there's some further optional arguments, but I can stop here and get a pivot table with the row and column labels automatically sorted, and I have totals for my columns and rows. Again, I've got some conditional formatting to reveal the cell borders, but perhaps the best feature of these dynamic array formulas is the way they automatically adapt as we add more data. Now I'm just going to freeze the panes here, so on the View tab, I'm going to freeze panes so that I can scroll to the bottom of the table, and keep your eye on the summary tables, because in the very next row underneath the table, I'm going to add data for 2026. I'm just going to copy it down from the row above. And as my table expands, so did my summary tables, which is very cool. Each of these features are great on their own, but you can see the real power of Excel comes when we combine them to make dynamic reports and tools. But here's the thing, features are only half the story. The other half is how you set up Excel itself. Small changes in your settings can completely change the way you work day to day. So if you want to keep building on what we've covered today, check out this video next. It'll show you the exact settings I recommend, plus there's a free cheat sheet to make them easy to apply. So click here and I'll walk you through it.